Peace, fam. You boy fans and Neutron about online.com. Just a quick chime in. I understand it's been a while. I hope you guys have been enjoying some of the content that is already on the channel as we rearrange a few things. YouTube, as ever, constantly doing their best to make things difficult and kill the creativity of creators, or undermine the creativity of creators in a lot of different ways, which has an adverse impact on how much we upload. And I encourage you guys to check out bout.online.com, our website, and obviously our main YouTube channel, Bout.online, which doesn't have as much restrictions as we tend to get on this one. So, peace to everybody. We're coming towards the end of this year. It's flew by pretty quickly. It's been a year where we've been celebrating 50 years of hip hop and the culture. So many different things that have happened, good, bad, indifferent, however way you look at it. One of the things we've seen recently was a backwards and forwards diatribe between Joe Budden and Drake. Amidst this, Drake made some clapback comments where he called Joe Budden a failed rapper. Now, I'm not saying that this is where this post has stemmed from Mysonne, but this post was coming from Mysonne, and I've seen it rapidly shared around social media by a lot of different people. So I thought, let me just explore it on one of these broadcasts real quick. And just to look at it, it says, this whole failed rapper narrative is flawed. So this is coming from Mysonne. Let me see if I get it on full screen for you guys so you can read it. So it says, this whole failed rapper narrative is flawed. Who gets to determine someone else's success? Is every NBA player who never won a championship or been an all-star a failed basketball player? So we could break down the questions, or I'll just read through it and I'm going to go back and break it down. It says, is every singer who never went platinum or won a Grammy a failed singer? Some of my favorite players and artists have never received the recognition I believe they deserve. The fact is, some of us rap to be lyrically better than everyone else, to have the other lyricists that we respect us, and the love for the craft put us in the industry amongst the best. Salute to every artist who received mainstream success, but a lot of us failed rappers will rap you ninjas into the ground respectfully. So I'm gonna go over this real quick. You guys let me know your thoughts in the comments. Do you identify with the concept of there being like failed rappers? Now, we do know that when it comes to music, arts, and the creativity, I look at things a lot wider, where it's sort of like, we've got the world and then we've got different aspects therein that. So even if we're looking at music and the industry and all that sort of stuff, these are just smaller facets of the wider world. And in the grand scheme of things, how important are they really? Now, you could levy against that and say, somebody who reaches the ultimate heights of success or the ultimate heights of notoriety, like a Michael Jackson, in terms of pop and singing, or a Tupac in terms of like rap and hip hop music, that they're able to transcend their time and continue to sort of live on through their name. I think that's just reserved for certain types of people, not necessarily just from an industry standpoint, even though I feel nowadays that can be manipulated from an industry standpoint. I feel as though when we go back and we look at a lot of artists and creatives, they've existed from the dawn of time, griots, all sorts, and it can be hard to make the delineation between who fits into that category and who has been kind of manufactured. Nowadays, there's so much manufacturing. I feel there's a lot of cookie cutter when it comes to a lot of stuff, and people just want to replicate what's popular, replicate what somebody else has done. So in terms of the benchmark of creativity, it's not as high as it once was. But looking at Mysonne's statement, once again, it says this failed rapper narrative is flawed. Who gets to determine someone else's success? Well, some may say the industry in one case, and also the fans. A lot of people may say if the fans don't exalt you or the people don't exalt you to that position, then it is what it is. We can argue that the industry can make it easier or harder for you to reach the people. Even with the internet now, there's still so many different limitations. I started this video talking about it. I've been unceremoniously limited in a lot of aspects as a black creative and creator, not just with music but media and all sorts. So we do know these things do happen. In terms of letting somebody else determine your success, I think if you let anybody, whether that be a person, whether that be an individual, whether that be an organization, determine the parameters of what success are, then you can fall for that sort of way of thinking. I think a lot of rappers would like to be obviously more quote unquote successful than they are from an industry standpoint, or maybe from a commercial standpoint, or sometimes monetary, to be able to show and evaluate some kind of worth for the work that they put in. But I don't think nobody can take away the work that you put in, and it did. I don't think the work that you put in can be denoted from just how many sales that you've made or how many likes you have on social media. And I do understand we live in that sort of time now. So I mean, my son, he makes some points, but I think at the same time he kind of reaching, because what I personally think, in my opinion, I know we live in a media time, but we all got to do what we got to do. And everybody wants to be a voice, and everybody has a voice, and has the right to share their voice and express their voice. But I feel as though a lot of people want to be heralded in a higher regard than they have been, or they want to push for people to hold them in a high regard, whether that's they want to sound like a great educator or something. And I'm not poking at my son or just people involved in music. You get that across the board in different mediums and stuff too. So I think people, it's good to rank yourself highly, but I think the best ranking should come from others as opposed to yourself. There's nothing wrong with being confident in your own skills and ability. When I first saw this post from my son, my initial response was, hmm, he's got some good points, but me personally, I don't ever recall a situation where I felt as though my son has rapped any niggas into the ground, as he said. Like, I don't hear about that kind of caliber as an MC, not to take nothing away from the skill that he has. But in my mind, or me as a listener, I don't know, music's subjective. I've never felt like, oh, my son, he rapped such and such into the ground, or anything like that. Now, on the flip side, I started talking about Joe Budden somewhat at the beginning. You could take a rapper like Joe Budden, who some may deem a failed rapper. I don't personally deem him a failed rapper. He's had music that's charted, he's put out albums, he's put out, a good body of work. And now he seems like he's chilling, doing some podcast stuff and other things. I think in the music business, especially with the rap music, there's an element of people not growing or not wanting to showcase a level of growth. We see it with old rappers. Um, I remember we see Master P and certain rappers, they still going on years later, and they still talking the same stuff about the streets and drugs, and this same old message hasn't really changed. So we do hear probably like a Jay-Z and a few others that over the years they rap and they make music, but they implement a bit more of a mature sound, even just in terms of what they're speaking about. So I think overall, just music can be quite juvenile, the mentality that kind of goes with it. And within that, it's harder for people to move forward. And I think people are shunned or looked at differently if they want to do something different. Slightly off topic, there was a great actor called Rick Moranis who starred in a lot of movies, 80s, 90s, and so forth. Um, and it was reported that subsequently, I think he was taking care of his children or his child, and left Hollywood pretty much behind, and left, the industry, and went on to do that. And it's not necessarily majorly talked about, but these things do happen within music and other mediums and stuff also. And I say that to say, if somebody does that, for instance, or they have a different career path, or their life goes a different way, and just like everything, there's ups and down, peaks and valleys. Is it fair to label them as a failed rapper amidst that? So yeah, guys, I don't want to go too much in or off on any kind of tangents, but I did want to touch on this. Obviously, being a rapper, well, even though I don't really like that term, but of the rapper, being a part of the rap culture, or the hip hop culture, I should say myself, put out a lot of music as a rapper. Some may look at me and say, "Hey, your Fonz a failed rapper," but yeah, I don't really play that, and I don't really allow others to have a definition over me with more validity that I give a definition for myself. Because ultimately, like I said, we could look at these labels and stuff that we have down there. We could look at these things that we do to pass and occupy time, and not to minimize these things, but in the grand scheme of things, sometimes we got to look at how, how big or how important is it. It's important definitely if you're dispensing a message and you're making some kind of positive change into the world. But if you're just being a part of the current paradigm that's just there and just adding in, not really changing anything, you might reach certain levels or heights of success. Especially nowadays, we see a lot of young artists and stuff, and doors have been open already for a year. Roads have already been paved, and you can kind of just walk through them in a lot more of an easy way. So I think, you can't take anything away from those who have contributed. That's the best way I would look at it. I kind of agree with my son with dispelling the whole failed rapper narrative and saying it is flawed. Not just with music, but with other things. He made some points about basketball players not getting championships and stuff. Do you look at a football player or a basketball player who maybe their team hasn't won a certain championship and you call them failed? So there's so many different ways I guess you could look at it. You guys let me know your thoughts in the comments. I'm going to be trying to update this channel a bit more frequently as well over the upcoming weeks and months. Still celebrating 50 years of hip hop and the culture. Do link up with us at boutonline.com. Check us out on social media at boutonline. Hard Hitter Productions and Mixer Reviews on Bout Online for reviews, hip hop news, updates, and more. So you both find a new channel. I'm gonna wind down on this one. Do let me know your thoughts in the comments. This whole failed rapper narrative. Do you think my son right? Do you agree? Let me know. Peace.